They say that the devil is in the details, but really God is in the details. Today, I want to talk about a distinction that can potentially change the way that you see your emotions. This could change everything in your life because what we resist the most is feeling things that we don't enjoy. I'm going to share a personal example of this, and then I'm going to go into a few analogies that really help in terms of understanding how we can see our emotions differently. But before I begin, if at any point you find that this information is helpful, then please like, share, subscribe, or comment so that more people have access to this information. And if what I'm saying is resonating with you and you'd like to work with me, please feel free to reach out to me at the email provided in the description box below. Last week, when I dropped my daughter off at school, I ran into the teacher that helps her with AAC devices. AAC stands for Augmentative and Alternative Communication. And since my daughter is nonverbal, she is being helped with this. And this woman, this teacher, comes up to me and starts to tell me, I just wanted to tell you that I really think that your daughter, Bo, has this very specific syndrome called Phelan-McDermott syndrome. Now, I had never heard about this before, and I've talked about my daughter quite a bit on this channel. She has a never seen before genetic variant, to be specific, in the GABRA5 gene. So she doesn't have a label to whatever condition that she has. So having this woman approach me and say this was shocking. Now, of course, I responded with, well, my daughter's had her entire genome sequenced, so I really find it strange that they would just miss this. And she said, well, I looked at her case, and when I did, I was so shocked that she didn't have this syndrome because I have 4 other children who have it, and she is so similar to them. So, of course, this led me running into my car after I spoke with her and looking up Phelan-McDermott syndrome. And then I found a slew of articles that led me to see all sorts of things that I was not happy about. And of course, this is what we do now because we're now Google doctors. It's fine. I'm all for information and I'm all about having the ability to heal ourselves through the information that we get on the internet. But there is this flip side to that, which is that we see things and we immediately diagnose and assume that we know what's going on. So I did a little bit of this. And I went down this negative path of feeling all the emotions that were being created by the thoughts I was experiencing, and they were not pretty emotions. And of course, the biggest fear is that my daughter's going to die young. And so I started to have all these feelings of, oh my God, what does this mean? Is she going to start feeling really bad as she gets older? Because that's what happens with these kids. And I was just watching my mind. Now, the amazing thing is that because I've had enough practice at this, I never got to the place where I was actually identifying with what I was feeling or thinking. What I was doing was watching it the entire time. So there was always this space that I had between what was happening and what I was thinking and what I was feeling, which is very empowering. Now, this doesn't mean that I wasn't feeling things because the emotions were there because I was having these specific thoughts that were triggering these emotions. So the emotions are always going to be there and we're going to have to feel them, but we don't have to identify with what we're feeling or thinking. And that's the key. And yet, because of the mindfulness practice around letting go and processing emotions, I was able to process through this very, very quickly. Now, the analogy that I want to give you is very visual. And the reason why I'm choosing this is because it really helps me to be able to teach you how our thoughts and our emotions are inextricably connected. So I want you to imagine that your thoughts are visitors. I want you to see yourself sitting in your house, and all of a sudden you get a knock at the door, and it's a friend. And this person comes in, you invite them in willingly, happily, you're excited to see them. This is your good friend. They just showed up and popped in out of nowhere, and you're really excited to see them. Now, this is a happy thought that enters your mind, right? Now, when we have a thought that we don't like, it's really more of an intrusion. It feels like we don't have control over that entering of the thought. It just barges in. And this is akin to the FBI knocking down your door. And it's not really like a FBI, I'm coming in. No. It's more of a bang, bang, bang. FBI, and they just, and they knock your door down. Okay. It's that kind of a feeling when you have a thought that just enters your mind that's negative. So, okay, the FBI is now in your front door. They've come into your home. And what do you do? So, this is the same with our thoughts. What do we do? Now, what I want you to do when this happens is very counterintuitive to what most people would do. I want you to just notice what's happening. I want you to stay calm, which is really difficult because if the FBI actually knocked down your door, you would be screaming and freaking out. And that's what most people do when they have these kinds of thoughts that enter their mind that they don't feel that they have any control over. But you do. This is the thing. I want you to remember that what you are is the consciousness that is watching the thoughts. You are always focusing your awareness on something. And when a negative thought comes in, like an intruder, like the FBI knocking down your door, you still have the ability to remain focused and calm and watch what's happening. So invite them in. We have to get good at inviting things in. This is what Michael Singer talks about when he says, learn how to handle it. Learn how to handle stuff. When stuff comes in, when stuff happens, when shit happens, handle it. Learn how to handle it. Because you're going to be handling it in some way. You're either going to be freaking out, worrying, or you're going to just be able to watch and observe. Okay, so the FBI comes in and you invite them in. Well, I guess they barged in, so you didn't need to invite them in. But you welcome them with open arms and you say, would you like some tea? And you sit down and you have a cup of tea with this FBI agent. And what you do is you just hear what they have to say. Because the thoughts have something that they want to say, right? They're just there. They're programs, they're running. And let them talk and just listen. So that's what you're going to do. You're just going to have tea with the FBI agent and you're going to listen and you're going to just listen and do nothing else. But listen, you will stay in a state of being if you are listening, if you are not engaging with the thoughts. You're not analyzing the thoughts. You're not thinking, what do these thoughts mean? Why did these thoughts come in? Why is the FBI agent in here now? Because when we look at the FBI agent and start freaking out, what happens is we think that our life is going to change for the worse forever. Like in the example that I gave you with my daughter, I started thinking, okay, this is it now. I have a daughter who has this disease, this syndrome, and this is going to be my new life for the rest of my life. And she's going to die at some point in the near future, and my life is going to suck and it's going to be hell. So these are the things that we do to ourselves, right? We put ourselves in a limited box, in a self-imposed prison. That is what happens when we identify with our thoughts. And this is the first step in the distinction that I'm going to talk about later, is being able to welcome in whatever it is that we're experiencing. Because remember, it's just an experience. It's not us. It isn't who we are. It's simply a thought that leads to an emotion. That's it. It's nothing more. Now, we also do this with positive thoughts. Let's use the example of when you first start dating somebody and you go out on a date and the date's over and you come back home. What do? You think about that person again. You invite them into your house. It's the same thing. You're getting that thought, it's coming back in, you're inviting it in, and you're replaying that scenario that you experienced on the date. I love the way his hand felt on my lower back right when he was helping me sit down when we went to dinner. I love the way he was looking into my eyes. That kind of stuff is really fun to replay. And we enjoy inviting that type of person over into our home. But when it's something like the FBI agent, it's the last fucking thing that we want to be experiencing. And yet we don't know what to do when that happens. So what most people do when the FBI agent comes into their home is a couple of things. If you're in denial, what you do is you just ignore the fact that the FBI agent is there. You just pretend that it's not even there. No, I'm fine. Nothing's happening. No, totally fine. Totally normal day, right? And your husband comes in and he asks you, oh, how was your day, sweetie? It was fine, kind of just a normal day. Meanwhile, you look over and the FBI agent is leaning on your kitchen counter, looking at you like, all right, ready? ready to come to jail. The other thing that people do is they take the FBI agents and they tie him up and they put him in the closet or they put him in the basement and they just tell themselves, I'll figure this out later. So that's another thing that we do, right? We suppress. And the way that we decide to respond to this FBI agent entering into our home is our only point of control. Here's the thing. If you don't acknowledge and respond to the visitor that's come into your home, then you're going to have them in your house for good until you finally acknowledge them and deal with it. It's exactly like tying them up and putting them in the closet. They're always going to be there, tucked away. It's not like they're just going to poof, magically disappear. So you need to deal with these things. You need to get good at learning how to handle what's happening in your mind and in your heart. Because until you do, you're never going to be free of it. Suppression doesn't allow you to actually overcome whatever it is that's bothering you. It just pushes it down. And until you understand that, you're always going to have the FBI agent in your closet, so to speak. So that's why it's so important that we start acknowledging what it is that we're feeling because of what it is that we're thinking. And the key to doing this is always remembering what you are. You are the awareness, the consciousness that is experiencing these things. You are not the experience. You are not the feeling. You are not the thought. You can think of this earth experience, this human experience that we're having, sort of like a virtual reality video game. Except this experience is so good that we actually believe that we are the player. We actually believe that we're the body and we're the mind and we have our own little separate life and existence. And we become so confused that we think that that's what we are. We think that we are the vehicle that we are in, when in fact, we are the consciousness that is experiencing all of it. And this is the distinction that I want to give you. Stop calling your body and your mind mine. Stop using my, me, mine, because the minute that you do that, you identify with those things. You attach to those things. You call them your own. You say things like my body, right? It becomes your body. Now, here's the thing that I want you to realize. You never really own anything. You never really do. You think it's your body, but then what happens when you die? You don't get to take it with you. You don't get to take this body with you. It's not yours. It was never really yours in the first place. It's a body that you get to inhabit so that you can experience things that you are not. That's basically what we're doing here in this VR game is we have completely forgotten our true nature as consciousness, as unconditional love, and we're now playing in this world of duality so that we can remember what we really are. We can return back to that state of love. And so as you remember more and more the divinity that is you, you let go of all of the things that are not you. Because at any moment, the thing that you deem most precious, which is your body mind, right? That is the thing that people cling to more than anything, because without it, you believe that you would die, and you would have a physical death. But what you are doesn't die, it never dies. What you are is the consciousness that is experiencing itself through a physical body. So the possession that you're most possessed by isn't even yours. And that doesn't mean that you don't have to take care of the temple that you're in, because it is a temple and we need to treat it as such. We need to respect it. We need to take care of it because it is a sacred thing. So I'm not saying that you should just disregard your body and treat it like shit and lead this hedonistic lifestyle. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is that God is in the details. And the details are that we are not what we think we are. We can stop identifying as the body mind. And the distinction is to stop using the words me, mine, my. And the more that we shift out of using those words, the more that we reprogram our thinking, our feeling shifts, and then our actions shift because our experiences of life shift, because our point of perception has shifted. So say things instead like, I have a body, or this body needs to go to the gym, or the body is hungry. or I feel hunger, because you, as the awareness, is experiencing the feeling of hunger, but you are not the body. So make these subtle distinctions and begin to use this, incorporate this into your vocabulary, into the way that you speak, because our words are powerful. Our words are energy, and they're thought forms that are creating things. So it's very important to be careful how you use your words. And this distinction is everything when it comes to shifting the way that you perceive what's happening in your life, the way that you experience your emotions and your thoughts. They can be so debilitating. You know, when you get into a state of feeling apathetic or deeply depressed, it's because you've become so deeply identified with what's happening to you. You think that you're the feelings. You think that you're depressed. You are not depressed. You, as awareness, as consciousness, are experiencing depression. Huge difference, huge distinction there. And this is so empowering. Do you realize how empowering this is? It's so incredible when you realize that what you are is untouchable. What you are is really always protected. There's nothing that can actually hurt you in terms of spirit, in terms of your soul, what you are, that awareness, a being, that consciousness never gets hurt. That's the part of you that's immortal. That is really what you are. The part of you that can be hurt is the physical part, but that is just an experience that the non-physical you experiences. This is the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, and I want to read you the causes of suffering. It says the causes of suffering are 5: ignorance of our real nature, egoism, attachment, aversion, and the fear of death, which makes us cling to life. And then he goes on to say, ignorance of our real nature is the source of the other 4, whether they be dormant, weak, suspended, or fully active. Okay. So if we can realize this, if we can realize that it is the fact that we have forgotten the truth of what we are, we've forgotten our true nature, which is consciousness. We are the consciousness that is everywhere. And it's sort of like the analogy that people use a lot of times in spiritual circles, which is a fish that's in water doesn't realize that it's in water, right? It's the same exact thing. We as humans don't realize that we're swimming in consciousness, that what is everywhere, all around us, inside, everywhere, it's literally there isn't a place, a space, and time anywhere, in every dimension, in every reality, is consciousness. That's what is there. That is the thing that everything is being birthed out of, right? So that's what you are. You are part of that. And when we can remember that, then we can let go of being afraid. We can let go of whatever experience we're having because we're not resisting it anymore. We're not afraid of what this experience is going to do to us. And we can let go of the fear because we've remembered that what we are is untouchable. What we are doesn't actually get hurt by experiencing what is. So stop trying to resist what is and allow what is to come in and be there. Welcome it like the guest in your home. It doesn't matter what the guest is, you can handle it. Because if you don't, you're going to end up with that guest in your closet for the rest of your life. And that is not going to be pretty. It's not going to be pretty. Once that FBI agent starts getting hungry or they need to use the bathroom, so don't do that to yourself. Allow yourself to learn how to accept everything that comes into your home. Learn how to accept it. Learn how to be with it. Learn how to observe it, right? And this doesn't mean that we don't have to do anything about it. It just means that we are the one that gets to choose how we want to respond to that uninvited guest. I'm going to leave you with one last really beautiful little paragraph by Yogananda, and these are called paragrams. They're like a little telegram, but Paramhansa, paragram. Anyway, this one is called Realization. The light of God is evenly distributed, but in some men it is more apparent than in others. For those who tune in with him reflect his light more clearly. Realization comes from constant, deep meditation and from ever busy, ever searching mental effort to convert theory through practice into useful knowledge. Lift your consciousness from the confining, noisy world of matter into the vastness of silence and commune there with God. Do not look for a spiritual flower every day. Sow the seed, water it with prayer and right endeavor. When it sprouts, take care of the plant, pulling out the weeds of doubt, indecision, and indifference that may spring up around it. Some morning, you will suddenly behold your long-awaited spiritual flower of realization. I love you all so much. Until next time, remember to let go. Let go of trying to be anything other than the truth of what you are.